You walk into work every morning and almost instantly feel it. The tension, the confusion, the silent glances exchanged when a decision doesn't make sense, when a deadline is missed, when the room falls silent after your manager speaks. You've probably wondered more than once how someone so completely unqualified ended up in charge. They don't listen, they don't lead, they pass blame, dodge accountability, micromanage the details, and somehow miss the big picture entirely. They weren't always like this. They used to be sharp, friendly, reliable, but something changed the moment they got the title manager. Ever wonder how the worst person at your job became your manager? There's a reason for that, and it has a name. In 1969, a Canadian educator named Laurence J. Peter made a chilling observation. In any structured organization, people tend to rise, not to their level of skill, but to their level of incompetence. It's called the Peter Principle, and it might explain everything about your boss, your burnout, and why your workplace feels broken. Today we're breaking down the hidden flaw in modern management, the invisible staircase that leads good workers to become terrible bosses, and why the system, by design, might be setting your manager up to fail. This is the Peter Principle. There's a hidden trap in the structure of every company, every team, every hierarchy. It's invisible but everywhere, quiet but devastating. And it's powered by one simple concept: people rise to their level of incompetence. The Peter Principle was introduced in 1969 by a Canadian educator and psychologist named Laurence J. Peter. His theory was blunt and unsettling. In a traditional promotion-based system, competent employees are rewarded for doing their current job well by being moved into an entirely different job. Eventually, that person is promoted into a role they're no longer equipped for. They stop growing. They start failing. And because promotions rarely go backward, they stay there. Imagine this: an incredible software engineer. They're focused, brilliant, technically flawless, so they're promoted. But now their role is managing people. Meetings, budgets, office politics. They're no longer doing what they excel at. They're doing something they were never trained for. And now, the entire team is suffering. The Peter Principle isn't just a quirky theory from the 60s, it's alive, it's current, it's quietly eroding the foundations of modern work, from Fortune 500 boardrooms to your local grocery store. And the worst part, most organizations don't even know it's happening. In today's world, no industry escapes the reach of the Peter Principle, but if you want to see it in action, look no further than tech. Tech companies move fast. They value speed, execution, and innovation. So when someone writes perfect code, solves the impossible bug, or delivers sprint after sprint without breaking a sweat, they're rewarded. And that reward? Promotion. Suddenly that top-performing engineer is a manager. They're no longer writing code. They're managing humans. They've gone from being in control to feeling lost, because no one taught them how to lead. No one asked if they wanted to manage. The system just pushed them up the ladder. And it's not just in tech. In sales departments around the world, the story is nearly identical. Meet the company's top salesperson, charismatic, persuasive, always hitting quota. Their reward? A promotion to sales manager. But selling is not managing sellers. They excelled at doing, not leading. So they push their team too hard. Or not enough. They micromanage or disappear. Either way, they've become the worst kind of manager, a confused one. And this doesn't stop at private industry. The Peter Principle thrives in government and bureaucracy. In complex bureaucracies, promotions are often tied to time served, not performance. Civil servants climb the ladder because they've stayed long enough, not because they're the best at what they do. The result? Inefficiency becomes institutionalized. Whole departments led by people who no longer understand the work they oversee. Does any of this sound familiar? Have you seen this happen where you work? Have you watched someone go from brilliant to burned out? Tell us your story in the comments below. You're not alone, and what you've seen might be more common than you think. This story keeps repeating itself. Industry after industry, office after office, good worker, promoted, fails. Why does this happen so often? Let's break it down. Most companies invest zero time in preparing people for leadership. There's no handbook, no playbook, no mentorship. You get promoted, and you're on your own. So what happens? They improvise, they copy bad habits from their old boss, and the cycle repeats. Most promotions are rewards. They're based on what someone has done, not what they're capable of doing next. You were great at coding, not coaching. You were brilliant at selling, not strategizing. But the system doesn't care. It rewards output, not alignment. Once someone is promoted, going back is almost impossible. Demotion feels like failure, shame, a step backward that could cost them everything, so they stay, drowning, hoping no one notices. And all the while, their team suffers under poor decisions, micromanagement, and silence. This isn't about bad people, it's about a broken system, a system that pushes people upward until they fail. But what if it didn't have to be this way? When the wrong person sits in the right position, the damage doesn't stop at their inbox. Team morale, gone. When leadership falters, resentment festers. Confusion spreads. Direction, lost. The best employees stop asking questions. Or worse, they stop caring. The people who can make a difference? They leave. Because good talent won't stay in a broken system. They'll find another one. And what about the ones promoted beyond their skill? They crack under pressure. They burn out, or worse, they try to control everything. Without clarity, they cling to control. Without trust, they tighten the leash. The result? A slow death by micromanagement. We're promoting people into positions where they no longer feel competent. And when people feel incompetent, they either withdraw or overcompensate. Simon Sinek. According to Gallup, over 70% of the variance in team engagement can be traced back to the manager, not the pay. Not the perks, not the ping-pong tables, the person in charge. It's not just a bad boss, it's a failing system, and we're all paying the price. Once upon a time, the office door told you who was boss. Today, it's a name on a screen, and a calendar full of back-to-back meetings. In the age of remote work, the cracks in leadership have only gotten wider. Without in-person interaction, managers need more than authority. They need empathy, communication, presence, the things you can't measure on a spreadsheet. And guess who's stuck in the middle of it all? Middle managers, stretched too thin, trained too little, and judged by metrics that miss the point. And in hybrid workplaces, things get even messier. Half the team gets FaceTime. The other half gets forgotten. The Peter Principle thrives in this chaos, because no one knows what good leadership even looks like anymore. According to Gallup, only 18% of current managers have the natural talent for leadership. 18%. That means 82% don't. And yet, they're the ones steering the ship. So what does great leadership even look like? When we're promoted, we often think we're ready, but we're not. Not yet. This is called the Dunning-Kruger effect. The cognitive bias where people overestimate their competence, especially when they know the least. When a person is promoted without the skills to match, they overestimate their readiness. And the worst part? They don't even know it. It's not just about competence, it's about identity. Once you're a manager, something changes inside. It's no longer just a job, it's who you are. Ego feeds into this. Our job titles become part of who we are. The higher the position, the bigger the identity shift, but it's a trap. And then there's the fear of not being promoted, of being left behind, the cultural pressure to climb that corporate ladder, no matter the cost. In today's culture, the pressure to rise up is overwhelming. To say no to a promotion feels almost impossible. So even when we know we're not qualified, we push forward, simply to fit in. As we move up, the complexity of the role increases exponentially, but our performance doesn't always follow. At first, your skills match the task. But soon, those tasks become more complex. And without the right tools or training, performance starts to crumble. This is where it gets dangerous. When you can't keep up, you're forced to adapt. Or fake it. What if promotion didn't mean leaving behind what you do best? Smart companies are now building dual career tracks, one for experts, and one for leaders. It means you can grow without becoming someone you're not. If you love coding, writing, designing, you can master your craft without ever having to manage a team. Imagine being taught how to lead before being asked to do it. Before promotion should come preparation. Top-performing organizations give employees training in emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, time management, long before they step into management. Another fix? Honest feedback, real feedback. 360-degree evaluations allow peers, reports, and supervisors to weigh in anonymously. It paints a fuller picture of how someone actually leads. It's not about tearing someone down, it's about building better leaders. Too many promotions are based on flattery, not fit. We reward charisma, popularity, vibes. But true leadership needs grit, humility, and self-awareness. Companies need to ask, is this person truly suited to lead, or are we just flattering them into failure? Take Google, one of the world's most influential companies. They didn't just hand out management titles, they studied what makes great managers great. Then they built training programs to teach those exact behaviors. It's called the People Manager Program. Empathy, clarity, feedback, vision. These aren't perks, they're skills, and they're trainable. The result? Higher retention, better performance, and happier teams. This doesn't just fix bad bosses, it builds great ones. Know a company that gets it right? Drop their name in the comments. So, how can you avoid the Peter Principle? How can you sidestep the trap of rising to your level of incompetence? First and foremost, if you don't want to be a manager, don't feel pressured to go for it. Leadership isn't for everyone, and that's okay. Be honest with yourself. Do you want the added responsibility, or are you happier with your current role? It's easy to get caught up in the idea of a promotion, but being honest with your intentions can save you from unwanted stress and failure. Leadership is about more than being a good worker. It's about communication, empathy, and problem solving. Start developing these soft skills early. Invest in yourself. The sooner you develop emotional intelligence, conflict resolution skills, and an ability to motivate others, the better you'll fare in a leadership role when the time comes. Sometimes the best thing you can do is say no. It can be tough, but if you don't feel ready for a role, or you feel it's not a good fit, turn it down. It's better to maintain your expertise and continue thriving than to take on a responsibility you aren't ready for. If your manager respects you, they'll understand. And if they don't, maybe it's time to reconsider your workplace. It's not just employees who need to be aware of the Peter Principle. Companies play a huge role in perpetuating it. Too often, promotions are based on past performance, but that's a short-sighted strategy. Smart companies promote based on potential, someone's ability to grow into a leadership role, rather than simply rewarding results already achieved. Consider long-term potential, and ensure that promotions come with the proper training and mentorship. Promotions shouldn't just be vertical. Sometimes lateral moves can lead to more satisfying long-term career growth. Let your employees know that moving sideways into new departments or roles is just as valuable as climbing the ladder. These moves create opportunities for career growth without the pressure of management. It allows employees to find their sweet spot. So, is the Peter Principle just a natural consequence of hierarchical systems? Or can we truly escape it? Is it simply inevitable in any structure where promotions are based on performance? Some argue that the Peter Principle is simply the result of how hierarchies are built. In any organization with clear levels of authority, you have to rise through the ranks. And eventually, that means someone who excels at one thing will be asked to do something they aren't good at. But what if this can be avoided? Is there a way to promote the right people into leadership positions without subjecting them to failure? Well, some companies are starting to experiment with alternatives to traditional hierarchies. Take flat organizations, for example. These companies do away with rigid management structures and instead focus on team collaboration, with everyone contributing equally to decision-making. In this environment, promotions are based on peer reviews and leadership is shared. There's no one manager. Everyone has equal say in guiding the direction of the team. What if your next manager wasn't human at all? What if an AI could be the one to decide if you're ready for that promotion? AI-driven management could revolutionize how we think about promotions and leadership. Imagine a system that analyzes your strengths, weaknesses, and potential, and then makes decisions about your career advancement based purely on data, free from human biases. So, could we escape the Peter Principle entirely? Maybe. Or maybe the better question is, do we need to? In a world where technology is advancing at lightning speed, it's clear that how we approach leadership needs to evolve too. Could AI really be the answer, or does true leadership require something human? To recap, the Peter Principle tells us that promotions don't always lead to leadership success. Just because someone excels in their role doesn't mean they'll excel as a manager. It's a tough reality, but understanding this can help prevent organizations from falling into this trap. But here's the good news: not all managers are doomed by the Peter Principle. We can be smarter about how we choose our leaders. We just need to rethink what makes a great manager. In the next video, I'll break down the 5 traits of truly great managers, and how you can spot one before you take that job. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. So, here's the question for you. Have you ever had a boss who should have never been in charge? Hit like if you've been there and subscribe if you want to make sure you're never that manager. Let's keep this conversation going.